Do you want to know how I fixed all Wordfence plugin errors within WordPress? Now I'm going to teach you a series of simple, no-nonsense steps to correct any error that may be appearing on your website. I will show you some steps that will guide you throughout the correction process, without you having to waste your time looking for other solutions. Everything in a more didactic and complete way, without the need for any type of advanced knowledge. Here's a very important step that you cannot neglect. Use good website hosting. 90% of the problems we encounter on WordPress sites are always related to the hosting company. In some cases, the PHP version is out of date. In other cases, PHP does not have an extension allowed or features are missing. Therefore, we recommend Hostinger servers so that you can use PHP in your hosting company, regardless of which country in the world you are in. They have multi-language support, and they serve the entire world. They have a specific plan for WordPress with management, and it is one of the best plans for WordPress. We tested several sites within these plans. From the initial plan, you can host from 100 websites, and they are compatible with absolutely everyone. All the plugins we have tested to date, we have not found any plugin that does not work within the Hostinger environment. They also have a system within the panel to check viruses within WordPress installations, make updates within the panel, and check plugin compatibility, which will help you resolve most problems. There's a link in the description, and if you're purchasing an annual plan or longer, use our link to support our channel. One very important thing, as Rotchinger has a money-back policy if you don't like the product, you can simply do the following. By hosting from Rotchinger, install a WordPress site. Install all the themes and plugins you have on your current website. Check if it will work. If it works, you know the problem is with your website hosting and it's time for you to migrate. All you have to do is bring your website to Hostinger. Even Hostinger does the migration for you free of charge. All you have to do is join one of their plans. I recommend Cloud Startup for sites that need more performance, and call the support team, and they will help you with the migration process. Before making any changes, you must back up your environment. It is very important to have a backup of your website. Even if it has a problem, make a backup of the website to its current state. You can ask your hosting company's support team, or you can hire Hostinger, link in the description, and you can have their automatic backup. Backing up on the Hostinger panel is very simple to do. I'm going to teach here, and almost every hosting company is the same. Within your hosting company's dashboard, you go to Files, and you will have the Backups option. Coming here to the Backups option, I can click on Create New Backup. I come to Select. It warns me that it will overwrite the previous backup. Continue, and it starts creating my backup. I have to wait until this backup is complete, so I can start making the changes that will fix the problems with the plugins and themes within my website. Okay, backup completed. Now you can go to your website, make the necessary changes. If you have a problem, it's very simple to restore the backup. You can come here to restore the website. Select the date of the backup you made. Click on Restore, and it carries out the entire process. This said hosting. If you are using another hosting company, just contact technical support, and they will help you resolve the issue and perform a restoration if necessary. This is the first step to solving problems. In fact, if you have a problem and don't have any new information on the site, you can try restoring old backups to see if it fixes the problem you're getting. Checking the PHP extensions that your plugins and themes require can help you solve many of the problems as well. Here within the hosting panel, we go to PHP configuration. We go to PHP extension, and we check the extensions that are already natively active, and you cannot deactivate them. And below are several other extensions that you can optionally activate. Most hosting companies do not have this type of extension available, which is why we chose Hostinger as a partner. Let's go. I'll give you an example, and this is just an example. You can use this base for any plugin you use. You go to Google and search for the name of the plugin and the PHP extensions it needs, or read the documentation. So, for example here, Elementor. He has the PHP ZLIB extension as a necessity. He needs this extension active. Coincidentally, it is also an extension required by WordPress. So it's obvious that our site has the extension active, but it's important for you to know that all of your plugins have PHP extensions that they need to work. A plugin can depend on an extension. Another plugin may depend on another. So it's important that you have all necessary extensions active. How do you find this out? Talking to the plugin developer or reading the documentation. Generally, most hosting companies come with all the necessary extensions active, but there may be cases where you have to test to see if your plugin depends on any extension. Additional PHP. A very simple step that can solve many problems is to disable the CDN network if you use it on your WordPress. Some plugins and themes may have problems with the content that is available via CDN. Networks such as Cloudflare, CDN Max, among others, can be temporarily or permanently disabled to resolve issues with your WordPress site. So in our example, I'm going to go to Cloudflare and disable the CDN network. I'll click Edit on my DNS entry and disable the proxy. By clicking Save, I disable the CDN service, and in about 30 to 40 minutes, I can try again to access my website. One way to fix problems is also by changing the permissions of the folders where your plugin was installed. In many cases, a person unzips a zip file directly into the WordPress folder where the plugin is located, and this changes the permissions and folder owner, causing critical errors within WordPress. Let's go back to our hosting company's dashboard. I came to Files, File Manager, access our File Manager, our File Manager, go to Public HTML, access WP Content, go to the Plugins folder, and here we find all the plugins installed within WordPress. Note that they have specific folder permissions. This is the folder permission pattern within the web. If your directory is not with these permissions, you can right-click, you can come to Permissions, and change the permissions. Note that the permission is 755. If I check any box, I change the permissions. The default is 755. Check the recursive directories and files option and click Update. Important: if you want to keep the original state of the folder, before making the change, you can right-click, come to Archive, select the file format, and it will create a backup for you with the original state. Here the permission is different, but within this zip file, the permissions remain the same as they are on your screen. Increasing the memory of WordPress itself is also a step that solves many of the problems. Increase the memory available for WordPress. The first thing you have to do is check with your hosting company what the memory limit is available on your server. The one we are using is a plan specifically for WordPress. We have 3 gigabytes of memory. I allocated 1 gigabyte for PHP, and now I will also increase the memory available for WordPress. So I come here to Files, File Manager. If you host your website elsewhere, you can access the File Manager through your hosting company's dashboard. If you want to change your hosting company, I recommend that you click on the link in the description to get a discount on annual or larger plans within hosting. Access the File Manager. Go to Public HTML, WP includes. Look for the file called default constants. Let's look for the file. We find it here. Here is the default constants.php file. Let's double click on the file. Let's scroll in here where WordPress sets the memory limits. We will put this memory limit as 1024. Again, change it below also to 1024, and below here we have WordPress multisites. We are not using this structure, but if we were, we could also change it to 1024. Let's save, and that's it. From this moment, WordPress will be able to use more of the system's available RAM, which solves many of the problems with plugins that require greater use of RAM memory. Increase PHP memory. This is a step that solves most cases of problems with plugins, especially cases of instability, when the site goes on and off. Let's go. Coming to your hosting company's dashboard, you can click here on Advanced PHP Configuration, and you will land on this screen. You go to PHP Options. You will go down to the option that talks about PHP memory. Here I have it set to 512 megas. I can change it to 1024. Keeping in mind that my plan has 3 gigs. Incredible, 3 gigs of RAM. I can change, for example, to 1024. Come down here, save, and this step, after a few seconds, can completely change the performance of your website, including making several plugins that were stopping working due to the use of PHP are available on your website. Excessive memory or not excessive, just the necessary usage, get them back up and running. So, check with your hosting company if your plan has memory values greater than 1 gigabyte, 1024 gigabytes. Ideally, plans should have more than that because PHP is just one of the parts that will use your hosting's memory. Now let's move on to the solution, where we will change htaccess. In many cases, restoring htaccess to the WordPress default resolves most issues. However, it is important to pay attention to the following. If you use a caching plugin within WordPress, you must deactivate the plugin first. If your WordPress isn't even loading, then yes, you can change htaccess first and later disable the cache plugin. Most caching plugins change the WordPress htaccess file. Let's go. I'm going to open my hosting panel again. I'm going to come to the file manager. Go to the file manager and look for the current htaccess of my website in public.html. I will look for the htaccess file. It is here. The first thing I should do is create a copy of it. So I go to Copy File, select the current folder I'm in, copy, and it will create another htaccess for me outside of public.html. Another method for you to make a backup is also to simply right-click. Turn htaccess into a zip file, for example, and then you will have your zip in case you need to restore. Okay, let's open htaccess. Notice that my htaccess is completely changed. These changes are due to my Lightspeed cache plugin. It makes changes, but the original WordPress htaccess doesn't look like this. In the official WordPress documentation, we can see the original appearance of htaccess. In an error situation, you can copy the content, paste the new content inside htaccess, and save the file. This will help you test whether your website will work again or not. If the site does not work again, restore the file as it was, and the file does not work again. Let's go to the next step. A more advanced way to identify errors in WordPress is to use WP debug. Let's enable this feature within WordPress. In your hosting panel, Go to Files, File Manager, and access your hosting's file manager. Access the public HTML folder. Inside the public HTML folder, look for the WP config file. Double-click on it to open the editor, and we'll scroll to the end of the file. Before the last line, we will add 3 lines of code to define the debug. These are 3 lines of code that I just pasted. These lines of code will activate the debug and will save the log file in a folder that I will show you. Let's save the file. To close, now your log will be inside the WP content folder, and a file called debug.log will be created every time WordPress throws an error. I don't have any files in here because my WordPress doesn't have any errors. So that's why I don't have anything in the folder. It's clean. But if my WordPress had any error, the debug.log file would be created here, and I could look inside the log to see what is causing this error. Another step is to change the browser you are using. I know this step seems obvious, but in many cases it solves problems. Let's test. Let's go. Let's select the browser we were using previously, copy the URL, and simply paste it into another browser. It can be any browser, and on your computer you certainly have more than one browser. If you are using Windows, it comes by default with Microsoft Edge. If you're on Mac OS, you have Safari. If you're using Linux, it comes standard with Firefox. You can switch between browsers to see if the web page opens. Another important tip is to try to open the same page on your cell phone. Deactivating WordPress plugins is also a step that usually solves some problems. It may be that what you have within your environment is a compatibility problem and not a specific problem with the plugin. WordPress is a huge ecosystem, and sometimes some developers develop plugins that conflict with other plugins. The best way to find out if the plugin you want to use conflicts with any other plugin by coming to the WordPress dashboard and deactivating the plugins. Clicking on Deactivate the plugin is simply deactivated. However, this has a small problem. In some cases, you will not be able to open the WordPress dashboard. If your case is a case where WordPress doesn't even open the panel, I'll teach you how to deactivate the plugin in another way. Open your hosting company's panel. Go to Files and File Manager or File Manager. Click on your File Manager, and when you open it, you will have access to the HTML public folder. Access the HTML public folder. On some servers, this folder may be named www. Go to WP Contents, the Plugins folder, enter it. And inside the Plugins folder, you will see that you will have folders with the names of the plugins you are using. For example, here I have a plugin called Full Wide Page Templates. What I'm going to do is deactivate this plugin, but not here. If my WordPress wasn't opening, I could just rename by clicking with the right button, going to rename, and I change the name of the folder. I will just add an underline at the end and click on rename. Change the name of the folder, and when I come to WordPress and update, I will see that the plugin has been deactivated. So if this plugin was causing a problem in my WordPress installation, I would have deactivated it, and my WordPress would be working again, thus letting me know that this plugin is a problem. If this plugin has been deactivated, as I did now, and even though WordPress didn't work again, I must continue deactivating the other plugins, renaming the folder, or deactivating them through the panel until WordPress works again. The moment WordPress starts working again, I will know which plugin caused the problem. So I'm going to go back to the folder here and return the plugin folder name to the original. Bring the name of the plugin folder back to the original, removing the underline so that the name of the plugin folder remains as it should be. I update my plugins page, and now I can activate the plugin again. All the others, except the plugin that created the error within my site. This way I will know which of the plugins I have within my environment that generated an error in WordPress. In some cases, simply clearing the cache solves problems within WordPress. So what are we going to do? By clicking here next to the refresh button, we go to Site Settings. Go to Delete Data, delete the data, reset the permissions, and reload the page. But instead of clicking the Reload button, I'm going to press it on the keyboard. Control and the F5 key so that I can do a reload without cache. Once this is done, the page will be reloaded without using the cache, and if I have any problems caused by the cache, it will be resolved. Time is money. If you need a team to solve problems with your applications, your infrastructure, and your web application, contact us. The link in the description has our calendar open to the public with hours and days that you can select. Check out and receive our exclusive service from a bunch of technology mad people for a client who needs it. Your time is worth a lot to us. If you don't want to, that's okay. Just watch the video until the end, and I'm sure you'll be able to solve your problem. If you want to make money solving WordPress problems, there's a link in the description that will take you to the best training there is. I want you to think about the following. What do you think is most likely? That someone pays you $1,000 for a website that they don't even know if they need? Or that someone who already has a website working and has a problem pays you $1,000 to solve it? Solve problems with tools that already exist. It is a huge and little explored market. You have the opportunity to work on the urgency, the need of businesses that are already active. Click on the link in the description, and I'm sure you'll like it. Come on, guys. If none of the other steps in this video manage to solve your problem, I'll now teach you how to contact Wordfence security support. Come on. I'll leave this link here in the first pinned comment so you can access this page where I am. By accessing the link, you will land here where I am, and we can click on the support part. By clicking on the support part, we will create a topic here. This topic is nothing more than a support ticket that we will send to the Wordfence team. The first thing we're going to put here is, of course, the title of your topic. Here you can make a quick summary of what is happening to you to make it clear right away what the problem is, what the topic is, what the subject of this topic is. Will you also include the link to your website? Okay, and we will now add the body of the message. And this is the golden tip of this video. I'm going to leave this body of this message in the first pinned comment, so you can use exactly this base that I'm going to leave ready in this video for you. Because this base is what will help you get much faster, much more effective support as soon as possible so you can solve your problem. Why will it work like this? Because this message here will contain everything support needs to be able to understand what is happening in your case and help you resolve it. Let's go. The first thing we will include here in the message is your hosting company. Yes, you will have to make it clear who your hosting company is. Afterwards, we will enter the version of your PHP, the version of your WordPress, and the version of the plugin you are using, taking into account, of course, your environment. I'm putting some information here just to illustrate how you're going to do it in your case. But do you fill in your information about your environment? Okay, now we will add all the plugins that are installed and active on your website. Now we will add all the plugins that are installed and active on your website because this is very important, since regardless of whether or not the plugin has a connection between one and the other, it is within the same environment and may end up causing some type of interference. If you have any type of caching plugin on your website, remember to mention it and make it clear whether it is active or not at the time you are receiving this error. Okay. As in the previous steps, we activated WordPress's WP debug. If you have received a message that is important, that is interesting, that can help in some way the programmer who will respond to you. Equivalent to remember to also add it here within this message. I left it a little area just for that, in case you found something useful within WP debug. Okay. And finally, we will add two very quick sentences about. First, you will describe what the process you are trying to do and how it works, how it should work. Is the process working for you? What is the error it is returning? What is happening that is making this process go wrong? And that's it. That's all you need to add within the message. We're now going to add a few tags here to the topic, just to make it easier for support to understand what this topic is about. And that's it. I will also add an addendum that everything you write on the web, all support you send to any type of company, any type of application you are trying to get support for, you always write it in English, because this is the standard language used on the web. Okay. Finally, here, before sending, you don't need to check these two boxes, unless what is written here really makes sense with what you wrote within your topic. Otherwise, you don't need to check them. I recommend that you check this last box here, as it will basically allow you to be notified via email when this topic we are creating here is answered by the support team. Okay, you can submit a submission. Everything is ready. You will have contacted the support team, and as soon as you receive a response, you will receive a notification in your email. That's it. This video will end here. Thanks. He spoke.